sincerity, kind of hit him, and he had to agree that we really don't know if this does occur, that they won't do some of these things. There's nothing in the what they've proposed that would stop them. And so he told them on the phone that he would only give it 2.5 Pinocchios, but it was 3 in the article, but that's okay. But then the following week, Biden had a address or speech or something. And she says, interestingly enough, this same reporter called us and wanted us to fact check some of the stuff in his speech. And she said that never happens, that an opposition reporter would ask us our opinion of things. So she said, your commercial is doing some good. So I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, that was a purpose.
That was a purpose. I'm hoping to use that again in the future when I'm maybe sitting at work.
Yeah.
Down at Great American, and they're all.
I'm glad I could boost your image. Hey.
It was one of those built-in advantages.
Yeah.
Pluses,
Yeah.
So just as a reminder, this is being broadcast now.
Okay,
Why is that not showing everybody else on
No.
the screen?
because we're in Vermont.
We're in Vermont, yeah, we're in Vermont here on our TV screen.
Is that the Green Mountain in the background?
Yeah, let's do this.
New York. Mm.
I'm glad I washed my hair before I came for my selfie.
That is Lake Champlain. That is our family property, looking across the Lake Champlain to New York State and the Adirondacks. So that's why it's my happy place. Yes, that's,
That's
How far are you away
gorgeous.
from like being able to see across the West Point? Yes. Military Academy.
that's, West Point is, I think, much farther south.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, Fort Ticonderoga,
Mhm.
we can see that from where we are. It's-
Okay.
That's.
Oh, I've been
But
there.
is that the Green Mountain in the background?
That's Adirondacks. 'cause-
The Adirondacks,
Yeah,
which
Green
is
Mountains
right.
are in back of us.
Okay, because that would be New York.
Yes, that's New
That-
York,
that's
yeah.
right.
Looking due west, so we see sunsets there.
Hmm.
But I'm not sure why it says I'm screen sharing, but, so, yeah. Looking due west, so we see sunsets. And now all it's doing is it says I'm screen sharing. but
Oh,
We're getting the YouTube live display now. They've just never done this before.
ready to connect.
Well, and it was connected and it was showing before, but it's not displaying.
My happy place is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, oh,
I don't want to go back to the hills of Kentucky.
no. I started reading The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes. Moyes, is that how you say your
Yeah.
name?
Uh.
And it's another one about the backpack library.
I love that movie.
Yeah,
That we
they said it
watched
was very good.
Oh, gosh. I
It's
still
not
haven't gotten the
displaying
DVD back. I loaned it out and it's going through to
Oh, is
everybody.
it going around?
That, I don't know if it was me before you or you before me, that she wrote.
Yeah,
And then they made a movie out of it where the guy was a paraplegic and
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
die. And-
And the display.
Oh, man. It was good.
it was good. Yeah.
He's on tight.
Yep. It is tight as it can be.
Well, Tracy, you're the expert on that, aren't
Try
you?
one more time here.
I don't know this machine. I don't know this doodad, but
Connecting to Lynn.
okay.
Back to Vermont.
So if you're in a Zoom meeting, it's looking at your desktop.
Right.
So click share screen, click the green share screen button. You should get a pop-up window.
Mhm.
Pick the screen you want people to see in the pop-up.
And I did.
She can't get out of her happy place.
And that's what it's, and
Why
it's
is it
not,
flashing?
I don't know.
Pretty.
No, go ahead and look. It's never done that before.
Tracy has an extra fair.
And that's just showing the already started the meeting, so it's not that. Right, it should be showing
I
that.
can hardly remember when mine was like that.
Yeah. Did you have dark hair when you were
I
young?
had black hair.
Did you?
I mean, that's showing right now and it should be showing there.
Oh, okay, so it's because we're not seeing here.
So we're not, yeah, that's, I was hoping that they would be able to see the manager's faces, but that's not happening.
Connected to it.
Yep, like I said, it's never done that before, so
That's weird.
it was weird.
Sorry.
Well, sorry, you're not gonna see the lovely faces of Tanya and Amber.
They can make faces and
They
we'll
can
never
make faces
know.
at you all they want, that's
Yeah.
right, yeah. So there it is, okay.
Ready to,
We are ready to go. So yeah, we are broadcasting live via YouTube, and I'm also gonna go ahead and set this to record as well.
Can you take attendance?
Okay.
Kathleen,
Here,
Sue,
Yes, I'm here.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barbara,
yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Harold,
yes.
and Mark.
Yes. Okay, any public participation?
We just have, as far as I know, nobody's watching on YouTube, but you never know. But Tanya and Amber have joined us this evening.
Okay, thank you, Lynn. I need approval of the minutes of the August 2021 regular meeting.
I'll second.
Okay.
No,
Look at motion number 47.
It's me.
47 August minutes.
Number 7.
It's 47-21, right?
Yes.
Under yays.
Let me look at
I
the,
just want to correct the record. I was not here.
We're here in spirit.
oh, I probably just
Yeah,
forgot to
yeah.
take you out. Gotcha.
Okay.
I'll make a note in the minutes. Sorry.
Yes.
Good catch.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's okay.
I had Kathleen and Sue. Mark,
Yes,
Sue,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
okay, Lynn, any correspondence,
We
please?
do have some. We have the public library funds for September was almost $129,000. Our portion is almost $80,000 of that. So still, as you can see, coming in very strong, over 25% above the Department of Taxation's original estimate way back in July of the prior year when they make their first estimate. And then the other news really is mostly from Ohio Library Council. A couple of things that they obviously received a lot of questions about the president's proposal for the Department of Labor to issue some requirements about vaccination and testing and all of that. They're keeping an eye on it. One of the things that they told us all to keep in mind is that while the language of the rule has not yet been published, even when it does get published, it's likely to be challenged in court. And typically those kinds of OSHA requirements, because it will fall under their division, do not apply typically to Ohio public libraries. So I don't see that having a big impact on us, and we'll still have local control over what kinds of things that we decide to do. We were one of the 82 libraries that applied for ECF, the Emergency Connectivity Fund money that was part of one of the stimulus packages. We have not received official notification yet that would bring about $27,000 in reimbursements for hotspot costs and purchasing Chromebooks to be checked out to people. And so hopefully we will find, we'll get some information soon about that. But they were projecting that they were going to try to get through half of the applications by the middle of October. So I couldn't find anywhere where they said, well, we're going to start releasing funding waves in a certain time frame. So I'm just thinking middle of October is probably the earliest we'll know about it. We have gotten a lot of thanks from the Ohio leadership about the fact that the libraries are distributing COVID at-home tests, and the managers could tell you about how those are flying off the shelves right now. We've had to order, I think, 2,500 additional tests in the
Oh my
last couple of
goodness.
weeks. I mean,
Wow.
each building is distributing them pretty rapidly. So it is helpful, and actually the State Department of Health says that they're being contacted by their colleagues in other states, looking at this as a role model for what they can be doing in their other states. So that's kind of neat. What else do I have on the list? So just a couple of things about what's going on in the legislature as they're reconvening after a summer break. Some of the things that we believe will be on their list of things to be talked about are legislation prohibiting vaccine mandates and all, and of course that's all about freedom of choice and personal responsibility. So it'll be interesting to see those debates. There is some. The redistricting thing is, if you pay attention to that, there's a lot of that going on, but it also impacts congressional districts. And so the legislature has to approve that, or else it goes to the redistricting commission. And then there are some voter registration and election details that are also being looked at. I will say that one of the things that passed in the state budget that was approved for July 1 was a requirement for public libraries to give free copies of certain kinds of ID, so a driver's license or a state ID or a driver's permit. And they were thinking that it was because of this legislation about elections that they're going to be considering. So that's how some things actually tie together at some point in time. And that's really it.
Thank you, Lynn. Okay, so on to financial reports with Ms. Sarah.
Thank you. Appropriation summary report is the first one I always go over. Our salaries for the month of August were at $56,470. That was up about $791 from July. Employee fringe benefits, $13,411. That was down about $2,200. Library materials and information, purchased and contract services, I missed one, $19,350. That was up about $5,661. Library materials and information and supplies, that was down about $12,000 from July. You'll notice something that we don't see all the time. We did have that transfer of $50,000, which made my month-to-date expenditures on the last page $153,608. So that was up about $36,000 from last month, but that was a lot to do with that transfer. Bank reconciliation report. For the month of August, my receipts were $79,989. I had $104,378 in payments. I had some friends adjustments of $701.56. Giving my adjusted bank balance as of 8/31, $1,189,371. Some of the receipts that I had, I'll go over later. Outstanding payments. I have a few outstanding payments still from August. I have one employee's check. I have some structured employee benefit checks, and then just one check that's still outstanding. Snail mail is slow nowadays. Cash fund summary. Expenditures, $103,608. My bank balance, like I already mentioned, was $1,181,371. The cash flow for the general fund. I had a total general fund revenue of $79,921. My expenditures, the total was $151,083.77, leaving my general fund balance of $964,786. So doing really, really well in the general fund. Oh, I said I was going to talk about some. My PLF for the month of August was $67,457. I received some property tax from the auditor, $2,229. I had some homestead rollback tax of $9,883. August, the expenditure reconciliation report, total payments, $34,961. You'll see my two payrolls. I've never had two payrolls that similar. So the August 13th was 28,523 and the August 30th was 28,510. So I thought that was strange. OPERS for the board share was $7,984. Medicare from the board was $797. And the board share health portion was $4,517. My transfer out was $5,000, giving my total payments for August $153,608. Any questions?
I was gonna say, can I actually go back to the cash flow?
Yeah.
Just for a second, because I'm looking at money too. And one of the things that we need to be thinking about, and also I want to put in your heads now, is we have, obviously several months of unknown revenues, and even though we can kind of predict and estimate, but right now, at the end of the year, even after our minimum fund balance of $350,000 is set aside, we're projecting having another $272,000 in addition to that, which is great. I mean, it puts us in a very good financial position. But I think when the excess gets to that level, we need to be really careful to show that we are not rolling in dough and that it's needed so that we don't just have a lot of extra money. So we need to be thinking about, I think it's time now that we've had enough time to look at it, that we can afford to put our minimum fund balance at a higher level, and probably should, because of expenditures growing and the amount of money that we handle. So maybe bumping that up to $400,000. So that's something to think about. But that would still leave us with over $200,000 in excess. And so transferring some money to the technology fund and to the general capital improvements fund are some things we really need to consider. We had not planned on doing more than we already had budgeted, but we always have looked at technology expenditures. The buildings are not getting any younger. So I want people to think about that.
Good point.
Sorry for the interruption.
Payment listing. Any questions about any of the payments that I paid? You'll notice the top ones are all Friends adjustments from the summer reading program. Had a lot of those. No questions, that's all I have. You're welcome.
So motion to approve the financial investment reports.
I make a motion. Final financial report.
Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
And then all that other stuff that wasn't on your original agenda. Okay, so context is that we've got some unanticipated funds and expenditures. And so we need to create some special funds in order to handle those monies. And so we're looking at setting up a special fund for the Georgetown renovation. Setting up a special fund to handle the Millicron grant, setting up a special fund to handle the Shelton Trust money, and then actually transferring some money we already have in the Cook Fund because they gave us the $25,000 last year for Georgetown renovation. But now that we're actually having to embark upon a bigger project sooner than we thought, I got permission from them to move that $25,000 into the Georgetown renovation so we can keep their programming money separate from the building improvement money. So that's the big picture. And then all the details actually set up the revenue lines and the expenditure lines for those different funds. So the first one, the Georgetown renovations, obviously we were already talking about doing some remodeling. We didn't intend to embark on it quite so quickly until we had a little incident a couple of weeks ago. And so we need to be able to start spending money, and it can be Cook money. We also anticipate some insurance reimbursements coming into that. And who knows, it might be time to start a little kind of informal capital campaign and asking the public how they might help us with this, fixing the immediate need. So that's why there are a couple of different revenue funds, the restricted contributions, which would be like the Cook funds, the refunds, which would be the insurance, and the transfer in, which would be that $25,000 from other places. And then, we obviously anticipate expending it on maintenance, and building improvements, and furniture and such. So that's what that 5A2 is all about. And, I really don't have any idea how much insurance is going to be and we don't have numbers on total damage at this point. So
On
it's a
what they're
guess.
gonna pay.
Yeah.
So, Miss Lynn,
I'm getting schooled again here.
so, the way this typically works is they're gonna come up with a dollar amount for all repairs. That's gonna be, it just doesn't matter, flooring, ceiling, walls, elevator, it just doesn't matter. So they're gonna come up with a total dollar amount. We're gonna have a deductible, so that's gonna be our out-of-pocket that we can expect. And then, depending upon, I have to look on whether they're gonna take out depreciation or not. But, you can expect, 80 to 90% of this paid by insurance. So I would not expect there to be a large ticket outside of that unless we had some ridiculous deductible, like 50,000 or 25,000, which we don't. But I'm just saying that's the only scenario where I would be concerned.
And I don't know the whole depreciation thing, but I'm pretty certain that our insurance is for replacement value of things.
And I heard a rumor you got a pretty sharp guy.
We have a
on
really
your side.
sharp insurance guy.
Oh,
Right, I heard a
Yeah.
rumor.
Oh.
In the streets, yes.
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully you know somebody.
I love it, people. Yes, when I start name dropping.
Yes, well, and we'll talk about some of that. And there is a story there, yes.
But do I need to
Mark
make a
talked me
motion?
off the ledge, yeah.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. That's what I'm good for.
Yeah.
But do we need to make a motion for all
I
these?
think that we need to probably do them individually.
Do them
yes,
individually.
Yes.
Okay, are we ready?
Ready.
I need a motion. All right, so this is
5A2 we're on right now.
correct. So it's a motion to establish special fund and set appropriation for Georgetown renovations. And then I say the numbers.
I don't care the rest of you. I don't think there's any need to read all those count line
No.
numbers.
No, just leave it
It's
at that.
as
Georgetown
yeah,
renovations.
As
recorded.
set appropriations for Georgetown renovations,
Yeah.
period.
Yes.
There you go.
I like
I
it.
need a
I
motion.
move.
I'll second.
Okay.
Tracy's.
Mark.
Excellent. Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, on to the librarian's report. Starting with.
No, we still have
Okay, right.
5A3.
Those other fund, we got 503.
We have that whole list.
Have the
before.
revised.
Did you get the, oh, did you get the revised agenda?
I don't
No,
think he
this
has it. Is it the right revised?
Oh my
New
God.
stuff?
no. Whoa.
All right, do you have
It looks
another one of those?
It looks horrible.
We have 4 motions we have to do right now. We've done one. Thank you, thank you.
Does anybody else need a revise?
Oh,
Whoa, whoa,
gosh.
whoa.
That's a-
That's
It
a
looks
lot.
terrible.
That's a lot of numbers.
It's a
Okay,
lot
well,
worse
I'll
than
move
it.
on to the next one. We need a motion to establish special fund and set appropriations for the Millicron grant.
I
Right.
move,
I will second.
I need to use that right away.
Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
Yes, they are giving us actually 2 3D printer setups, but they're also giving us $1,000 in cash to spend on supplies. So that's why we need to open the fund.
Why are the supplies divided up?
Because so we had some options. We could have put 2 printers in one building, or we could get 2 individual setups. But at this point in time, because their time frame is like 1st of November to have this set up, we're not certain that Georgetown, we don't know where, Mount Orb's gonna house one of them, but we wanted to, and we think Georgetown's gonna be the other place. But because of the water damage and not knowing what space and all is going to be available, I thought it important to go ahead and set up the other 2 buildings with account lines, just in case we need to house it somewhere else and buy some supplies for those other buildings. So that's why it's 500 split the way I think it's going to be, but setting up the account lines just in case.
Thank you. Okay, we need a motion to establish special fund and set appropriations for the Shelton Trust.
Did you vote or did I
Huh?
interrupt that? Did you vote on the Millicron?
We're done with Millicron.
Okay,
Yeah, we're done
okay.
with
I-
Sorry.
I thought I interrupted.
Nope, moving on.
Yeah, sorry.
Are we getting the revenue from the Shelton Trust?
Yeah, so let me tell you about 5A4 here. So Tanya and I met with 3 of the 4 trustees from the Shelton Trust. And this was the money that I believe it was Mary Cochran had set aside the money for the building that was named in honor of Mary P. Shelton. And they have decided to dissolve the trust and turn the money over to us for the repair and redecoration. I think those are the terms, that's the terminology in the trust language of that particular building. So I think it's best to set up a new fund to handle that money, to be able to say, this is just for that building. Maybe we do use it to do some of the things we need to do right away. But that we can track it and be able to show the trust.
He was invested, wasn't it?
It was, and so it's going to take a little time, because they have to jump through some legal hoops to dissolve the trust. And then it's going to be approximately between $30,000 and $31,000 that will go over to us from that, so that's, yeah, all these kind of things that are happening all at once, yes. That's what that's about. But it's a one-time,
So they're going to cash out the trust
yes.
rather than giving us the security.
Correct. They're gonna cash it out. And I don't know, Tanya, you may recall, did they say it was in a CD? I do not recall what they said the investment was in.
They did not say.
I know they have to get some kind of a cashier's check if they're gonna pay for something that's done. So yes, they just want to dissolve the trust and then turn over the proceeds.
Okay, so we need a motion, I believe.
I move.
I'll second.
Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
All right, on to 5A5. We need a motion to transfer 25,000 from the Cook Fund to the new Georgetown Renovation Fund.
So this is that 25,000 that the Cooks gave us last year for the renovations that we're planning on doing. And we just put it in a single line in their existing account. But it will be much easier to, use it and not mix it with the programming funds in that account by making, putting it into that renovation fund. So, and I spoke directly with the trustees of the Cook Foundation, and they said, yes, go ahead and put it all in in that general renovation fund.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
Harold, Kathleen.
Yes.
Okay, now.
Yeah.
we
Now you can
Move on to the librarian's report.
And the fun of this is, if we get that other grant that I applied for, which we should hear about soon, the ARPA grant through the state library, we'll get to do this again. And add another fund.
Yes.
Wow, that's great. Fantastic.
So,
Did the auditor have any qualms about having so many special funds?
it's funny because we were asking them questions about, not about so many special funds, but about the transferring from one special fund to another, just wanting to make sure that, do we have to have something in writing from the one, the grantee or the grantor rather, and they keep passing the buck.
Yeah.
OLC will not tell us. The county auditor says, you need to talk to the state auditor. The state auditor said, well, that all looks great, but you really should go to your prosecuting attorney for an opinion.
Yeah.
So we want the board to be fine with us making that transfer
Right,
eventually. And we're going to figure out who's going to sign off on us doing it, and so that we know the actual process. So, if somebody
Okay.
says you need to go back and have the board actually pass a formal resolution, we'll bring it back to the
Well, they
board.
used to be very picky about letting us establish special
Special
funds.
funds, right. You used to actually have to do a resolution, and you don't have to do that anymore. And you used to have a court order to transfer monies between them. And that was what we've been asking.
That's what I'm
So,
on.
do you need us to do that? What do you need? And nobody wants to take responsibility and say, do this, ABC.
So it's not clear in the law that
Nobody has pointed us in that direction, and maybe that's
Oh,
why they're saying,
Yeah.
good, you're prosecuting
Yeah,
attorney.
they're not really.
So that he can take responsibility.
OLC will give you a process.
No, because I actually
there.
spoke on the phone with Director of OLC one day this week. And she said, I explained to her this process that we were taking right now. I said, we have it spelled out, we've got permission, this is what the board passes. She says, that sounds just fine. You probably ought to make sure the auditor will sign off on that.
Yeah.
Okay, and the auditor says, well, you should probably get your, okay, well, we'll find maybe somebody who will say, yes, do it.
Nobody wants to.
So I wanted to make sure our board was okay with doing that, but nobody has said, no, don't establish, you could have 10 special funds, 12 special funds, 18 special funds, as long as you are adhering to spending and putting money into the revenues for the purpose of that fund. Yeah, so. No, it's all fun and games. So building report. COVID.
Mhm.
Marsha.
Yeah. So, what do you want to know? We've got 2 managers participating. If you have any questions about Fayetteville or Sardinia or Georgetown. And we will be talking about the water thing a little bit later. So I'd rather not spend too much time, but I think you get a good summary of the actual event itself. So you have a sense of what happened there. One of the things I liked seeing was that we got those kits from COSI, the astronaut NASA kits, whatever, the right terminology is, and that they've been used in some neat ways. Yeah, I can't remember who it was who had asked me for permission or said something about, well, we're going to build rockets and we're going to go do this. And I said, wait a minute, there's pyrotechnics involved. And I then learned that it was water rockets. So I thought,
Okay.
that made me a
right.
little nervous at first.
So what is the status of the service on the Georgetown building?
Well, right now we are providing limited service. The public cannot go in.
I'm sorry,
The public cannot go into the building at this time, but we have staff there.
we were going to come in the other day and then I saw all the garbage trucks and so forth, and I said, I don't think so.
Yeah. And we'll be talking about that in a little bit later on, some details so that we can give you as much of an up-to-date as we can. I mean, it seems to change minute to minute sometimes, so if I look tired, Tanya looks tired. You know why, yeah. And anything about any other building report things? If not, we can talk about statistics. August tends to be a slow month. And even under the kind of weird conditions that we've been operating in for the last 18 months, it still was a slower month than some others. Although I will say that the overdrive numbers, and that's checking out ebooks primarily or e-audiobooks, and the Wi-Fi hotspots, that usage, those usages did not go down any in August. You might see a little bit higher numbers in the discard materials, and we are preparing for some fall book sales. So that's, right in line with what we should be doing. And the number of digital cards added, we went to some school open houses, and some teachers particularly were all about getting their students to register. And since we've actually streamlined the process, it's much easier for people to do that. I kind of suspect that after the teacher in service, that's early in November, so it would be in December, we'll see that statistical report. We're going to be touting some of these services to the educators across the county, and so we'll probably see another kind of a surge or a wave in that usage. But otherwise, we're busy, and not just handing out COVID tests.
How many days was Georgetown closed in August? Is it on here?
No extra.
There were no extra days because it happened on a Tuesday morning. We're closed to the public Tuesday anyway, and that was the last day of the month.
Okay.
Then just a September thing.
So in September, yeah, so next month when we look at statistics, Georgetown will definitely be impacted by closures to the public, yeah. Absolutely. That's all I've got to say about things. Any other questions? Let me move on to that.
Let's move on to announcements.
All right, let's move on to announcements then. Okay, so why don't we talk about the Georgetown water damage? I started writing a little list for you all, and you saw that on the building report, we gave kind of a summary of here's what happened, how it was taken care of immediately. We have been since then, so that's what, just over 2 weeks now. We have consulted with or retained the services of a reclamation cleanup organization called Belfour. Thank you, Mr. Miller, for giving us that lead. Because Servpro was not equipped to handle hydraulic fluid, so we had to keep on looking. We had consulted with Highland, the Ohio plan. Highland is the administrator of our insurance, and their adjuster, Mike Miano, who actually works for another company, Adamson, who does all of our fire stuff, because it was a fire suppression water line that fed fire suppression that got damaged. But we also had have another plumber, because there were other pipes that were non-fire related that were, there was connection there. We've talked with library design associates about furniture, carpet, all kinds of other things they might do, tri-state elevator. I also called Patriot Engineering. Anyone who was around for the Georgetown roof replacement may remember them. We hired them to make sure that the contractors were building the roof the way they were supposed to build it, and it was structurally sound and ready to go. And I thought, well, gee, maybe they could help us out with some of these other things. And Tanya is actually meeting with someone tomorrow because they have an environmental engineering component division. And where this hydraulic fluid is concerned, that's our biggest concern. They can do some testing for PCBs and other things that may have been residual in our 30-year-old elevator system. So we'll see what they might be able to do for us.
Kind of like a general contractor,
Patriot Engineering.
would like oversee the other things, or just?
They actually will
You
do
do.
the environmental testing part themselves.
Okay.
But they, I'm thinking about, maybe a little gun shy, but I'm thinking about, okay, so if a water pipe just busted like that, what else might be going on in that building that's that old?
Yeah.
And we'd already talked about a company to come and look at the outer envelope, because if we're going to be putting money into renovations, we want to make sure that we're protecting that investment. So, and if nothing else, Patriot Engineering can tell us, no, yes, here's what we can do, here's what we can't do. And, we can decide whether to proceed with that kind of a assessment.
I think, one thing you should look into, the Russellville Church has insurance with a specific company called Church Mutual. So they specialize in that.
Mhm.
But anyway, what they've done is they've come in and, or delivered rather, and reinstalled them, sensors throughout the building that tell you if there's water on the floor or the temperature's gone up, that kind of thing. And it's paid for by the insurance company. So it'd be interesting to contact and see if they offer such a service.
You
Yeah.
said the Russellville Church,
It's risk assessment.
Presbyterian.
It's called risk assessment.
It's called what?
Risk assessment.
Well, and
From the insurance side.
Yeah, from the insurance side. So the insurance companies are gonna make suggestions, make recommendations, and even offer to do certain things for you to minimize their risk of what they are insuring, at the same time making everybody safe here.
And our Ohio plan has a risk management component to it. Now, this is not something I've ever had any discussions with any of them specifically
I've
about.
actually never heard of it
Okay.
before. No, it sounds super cool and it
Yeah.
makes sense,
Yeah.
especially on the property side of things,
Yeah.
but I would assume they would have offered that to us, Lynn.
If they had it,
Or maybe they only offer it to certain level or certain dollar risks, that they think,
yeah.
or older risks.
Right. So that's definitely something, there's another person on my list to call and make contact with, absolutely. I've also been in touch with Ohio Library Council, asking, hey, do you know anybody who's had elevator hydraulic issues, water damage? And so I've got a couple of leads of some people who may be able to help with that, just the reclamation, if there were anything that libraries should be looking at. And of course, our own insurance expert, Mark Miller, who talked me off the ledge when we got the quote from the elevator company and passed along to the adjuster, who said, no, code upgrades are not covered. So, basically, not the $41,000 quote they just gave you, you're gonna have to eat it. So that didn't happen. Mr. Miller told us that you need to look for ordinance and law on your declarations page. So I did, and lo and behold, we had that. And I sent a little note to our adjuster and, said, I think that this is supposed to be covered, if I'm reading this correctly. Thank you to Mr. Miller for helping me read that correctly. And we did get the information back that, oh, good catch. I think that was exactly what.
Good catch.
$41,000.
That's not good.
Yeah, well,
That's-
but anyway, and it wasn't my catch, but anyway, so, kudos to Mark for being here and helping us out where we
Well,
really
yeah,
need
but
this.
Lynn, I shouldn't have had to have done that. And you know that. and
I
for-
do know that. I,
For my profession,
right,
that's a cardinal sin, and that's how you get in trouble as an insurance company when you're missing stuff like
Something.
that or telling them something that's not true. Ugh, not
well,
good.
and, this whole scenario probably makes me a little more sensitive to everything. And I'm not, I'm going to be, I'm maybe contacting more people than I need to get, oh, what do you know about this? But I really want to be sure that we're getting the right information and know how to proceed. The genealogy collection, good and bad of it, right? So the bad is that it was local history genealogy collection that, took the hit, right?
Ooh,
Because that was
Dear.
the water, that little room, the water pipe right there. The good thing is it's in a little room. And so that room kept the water from going all over the rest of the floor and damaging
gosh.
everything else in that room completely. So, a little blessing is that with wet library materials, if you can freeze them right away and get them to a proper preservation place, then, there's a certain amount of, restoration that can be done.
I didn't know about freezing.
Yeah,
Wow.
well, I was already, before we knew what Belfour could do for us, I was already saying, okay, call Kroger, see if they got a room in their deep freeze. Let's, the little I remember from my library school archives class many years ago is that was, one of the things you do, put it in deep freeze right away.
Wow.
So we didn't have to do that because they brought one of those trucks is a freezer truck. And they,
Kroger did?
no, not Kroger, Belfour.
Oh, my.
Oh,
Their
wow.
trucks.
Yeah,
So-
they're
As my daughter lived in one of those like basements,
They're really
half
good.
basement apartments that flooded in Milford.
Mhm.
And she had some first edition books that she'd bought in college and they got wet. And if I'd have known that, oh my gosh.
Zip them up in plastic and get out the air and
Yeah.
freeze them right up and for next time.
Yeah.
For next time.
Good to know.
And then what
But-
happens? I don't understand that logic. What is?
Well, there's something about the freeze drying process that actually then will remove the moisture while it's still in that state. So, when things get wet and they stick together and so this allows then preservation.
Oh, to separate the
To
pages. and
separate the
switch them up.
pages and, yeah.
By freezing them?
Don't we have
Don't, I,
freeze-dried vegetables and that kind of thing, takes the water out of them?
yeah,
Oh, yeah, good
Yeah.
point, Harold.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Yeah.
right. That's
Good
right.
point. I didn't think
Yeah.
about that.
So-
before.
so I really don't know, I have not seen it in action, but I know that that's the process. Tanya can, give you a little more specifics about, we know that even as they were removing those things, they did say that there were some that they weren't sure were going to be able to be,
Yeah.
brought back to life. But that, it looks, there was a good percentage of them that looked like they could very well be restored. So that's good to know, but that truck or that semi trailer will be, now that they have found a driver to drive it, because like everybody else, Belfour is struggling with employees and workforce. Their place is actually in Texas where they do this.
Yes.
And
Oh, my
so
goodness.
they will be driven down to Texas.
Oh, it's still here.
Yes, it's still here in the deep.
Wow.
And so it may be months and months before, you know, we know.
Green is.
So they're headquartered in Texas.
Belfour, maybe, I'm not sure, or if they
They're a
actually,
big company.
yeah, they are huge, yeah, I saw them.
And very successful.
Yeah.
Right on the street.
So that's another piece of it. They've also brought in some pods because while we put heads in the meeting, box them and get them in the meeting room, the furniture that's gonna have to be gotten out of the way, there's no other place to put it. So they brought some pods for that. They did end up shutting a door to a closet downstairs while the wet rug and everything else was still in it. And I believe it got left over the holiday weekend. And so there was one room that poor staff had to go through, you know, because it was already moldy and, you know,
Ooh.
things smelling of that. But Tanya did say that they had, you know, they came back, they cleaned it all out, removed all the carpet and such, and that it actually has been treated with an antimicrobial. So, you know, I'm thinking, okay, so how do they verify for us that they got everything and it's not going to regrow? And so I'm going to see what kind of documentation they can provide to us about that.
They should be able to test it again.
And test it again and see.
before. Yep, you can request that.
And then, you know, I would say the biggest unknown and that thing that is my battle right now is the hydraulics from the elevator. So of course, what does water do? It seeks, gravity pulls it, it seeks the lowest thing, that's the elevator shaft, and the elevator toast. Just, you know, they said the car itself, you know, was fine, but all the mechanics of it and being such, it's three stops, but just kind of 2.5 floors. So it's hydraulics rather than cable brake system. And so water got into the hydraulic fluid got into the water, which went throughout the entire lower floor. Again, plus didn't start up in the upper floor and
Come down.
building. It was just lower level. But we are struggling right now to get authoritative information about how hydraulic fluid impacts wooden furniture, what's the long-term impact on that. We also have some wooden paneling down in the children's area, and that's also a point of debate right now because the insurance adjuster is telling us, oh, it's fine. Belfour is saying, at least the corner where the water was the highest in a very low spot needs to be taken out because you can't cut paneling and replace it like you can cut drywall because
Right.
in some places they
Absolutely.
cut drywall up to 2, feet or whatever, and they're going to repair the drywall and patch it and all, but yeah, so it's like let's just get rid of that paneling and patch those 2 walls. And so, but there's some, we're being told that it's fine. But I'm really concerned about residual toxicity of hydraulic fluid in this furniture where little kids may be on the floor, chewing on table legs,
And that's
whatever they do.
That's also a liability issue.
A lot, well, and also you may not see necessarily anything on the outside of it right now because finished furniture may, do a pretty good job of protecting that finished part. But what about, the underneath part? It has it absorbed.
right,
Is it
right.
in 2 years? Is it gonna, disintegrate? But we don't know. So
Probably
that's,
an environmental engineer.
well, So, we may have to, sacrifice a table leg or something to, for drilling through and I don't know.
We have the extra 200,000, this would be, it's our responsibility
To,
to make sure.
I'm very concerned
And-
about the hazard.
So the way this would work, we should probably take the initiative. We should probably bring in someone like an electrical, maybe it starts with Patriot. I mean, you've already have a relationship with them.
Right.
It would start with a phone call to Patriot and say, here's what we got. Here's what my concerns are. Do you have a branch of engineering that can assist with this? That's where I would start, Lynn. They will let you know. If they don't, Lynn, they will be able to recommend you to a company that would have that ability. Then from there, I think we're gonna have to spend the money to get someone to come out, look at it, give us an opinion. If the opinion that it's good and safe, we'll have a written document that says that, and we should be able to feel comfortable and good with that. If it comes back and says, no, there's a problem, then we can go back to the insurance company with that letter. They will pay for it, including that expense.
Nice.
Okay.
That's how that's gonna work. So it's a
Okay,
win-win
that's
for
good.
both of us, and it's gonna probably be somewhere around $5,000, Lynn. But I feel like we have to do it. I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah.
Any place where that water was, every surface.
Exactly. Well, and it was, so one of the, besides Patriot Engineering and them coming to do whatever testing, they can on the environmental side. I also have been talking with Library Design because they know furniture, right? And they have furniture people. And so in my conversation with Matt Bauman this morning, he talked about what he had learned is that the chemicals strip the finish. So while it maybe look fine now, it basically kind of acts like as a paint thinner. That hydraulic fluid acts like a paint thinner and takes off the finish. And so, there may be more visible over time, or we may not see the actual internal structural until later on. But he said that right now, actually, you might have more of an issue with steel furniture. Are you listening to this, Tanya? Because this is new news. So I wasn't too concerned about the steel furniture. I'm thinking, whatever cleaners, because it's not going to get absorbed, right? Like wood would absorb something, as long as we've got something that will remove that. But Matt was saying that the powder coating on the steel finishes gets eaten through by hydraulic fluid. So,
That's
if there are
not
longer exposures. Now, was there long enough exposure? We don't really know. But particularly with older steel, like the older steel shelves that are on the floors in the kids' room, that gets in, and then you've got rust issues and you've got other kinds of things compromised because of that hydraulic fluid compromising the finishes. And so you've got rust going now.
Yeah, but
And I'm just gonna go, oh, well, I thought we were gonna be safe with the steel.
But the insurance company should be doing that research,
Well,
not us.
And however, my experience with what has happened with the elevator makes me say it's worth our time and effort to contact the people we know who know their business and know libraries and what we have here, because we're not like other places, we're not a house, we're not, and so I just thought, I want to be ready and prepared with information to say, here are the things you're not considering. Let me get them to send you some information.
There's this will be a step-by-step process. And typically the way this will work, especially if we're going solo here, which is fine, is we'll submit something to the insurance company that's going to contradict what they've already told us. So if they say the furniture's fine, That's their opinion, which is fine. If we disagree and we bring in perhaps an expert that conflicts with them, then the pressure's back on them to do something. So they either accept what we've come up with and they pay us, or they bring their own expert in to give an opinion.
Oh, yeah.
But no worries, been there, done that a bazillion times. I know the drill. No worries at all.
Okay.
So, yeah, so I feel pretty good that we've got somebody who knows how this all works and can guide us through. And then Matt also said, you know, a good approach for us would be to contact our prosecuting attorney and see whether they have any experience locally with anything like this, or have any precedent that may be able to weigh into the whole idea of safety and potential toxins in our public space and that kind of a perspective on it. So,
Oh, I know,
Yep.
they got the old courthouse that has had its issues and stuff, so Zach might know something about that.
so lots of stuff. I mean, those are the kinds of things that you don't want, you know, not to bore you all, but to make sure you know that I mean, we really are dealing with a lot of stuff. You know, it's taking a lot of time. So if I'm not doing all the things that you expect of me, it's because probably, you know, 70% of my
Yeah.
time right now is
That's terrible.
is helping with these things to make sure we're Tanya supported, and, you know, huge shout out to Tanya and her staff. You know, cool, under pressure, just did the right thing. I know she kicks herself about not taking out her video, you know, her phone and videoing so we can all see the water spraying out from the pipes. But, you know, her concern was, let's get this water shut off right
Yeah,
away, which was the smart thing to do.
Yes.
And her staff have been just fabulous in terms of their flexibility and what can we do to help? And of course, you know, what can we do to keep you all safe while you're working in some conditions that, you know, may pose some problems, especially, you know, mold or other kinds of things. So Tanya's really on top of that. And, you know, I've said a lot, but Tanya, you know, you've got your on-site perspective, and I want you to say whatever I have missed that you think is important for the board to know. And she's available for you all to ask questions of also.
Okay.
I think the main thing that I would like to just inform you that some things are still going on. We did still have book club today. It took place outside on the lawn. We had our space kits and our COSI kits that Kelly and I did outside on the front lawn on Friday night. So some things are we're still trying to keep up with that. The phones are ringing off the hook. The front door is super busy, but my staff is rotating. So we have someone in there constantly from 8:30 in the morning till 4 in the evening. And that makes sure that the staff isn't in there too long, breathing the dust and stuff like that. Although it is much better now than it was in the beginning. But, you know, we're doing our best to keep up with everything. And we had a little glitch with our lockers, but they are fixed now. And we are utilizing that as well. And we're just trying to stay on top of things and make sure things get done correctly.
And so Tanya, as you go through this remediation process and this repair process, and with your staff, if something seems not kosher or something may seem a little odd that you're seeing, please let Lynn know right away, because she can reach out to me via text. You know, because we need to get this done as soon as possible. We need to make sure that they're getting the work done. And if something looks funny to you, if something looks off to you, it's better to address that immediately instead of putting it off in case some correction needs to be done. So that would be kind of my words of advice there.
Right. Thank you. And I know that one thing that we are working on, because I have discussed a couple of these things with Lynn, we are working on a list so that we have a complete list of tasks that need to be done. And we are sending an email out so that everyone, all the parties involved are on the same page and everyone knows who is expected to do what. So that way we don't have any overlap or things falling through the cracks that they're making assumptions that someone else is handling that.
It's an excellent idea. Thank you, Tanya.
So we're done, right?
You know, insurance is exciting.
Yeah.
It's exciting and it sure is a learning process, but boy, it's tiring.
Yeah,
I'm
it
just gonna
is.
tell you, it's exhausting. So yeah, I think we, as best we can, we've got things under control at the moment. We have, I think, people that we can reach out to about the things that we are kind of unknowns. And our goal is at this moment to be back open to the public October 4th. Okay, we were going week by week, but it's just there are too many things that change. And we looked at, okay, well, how about the 27th of September, but that starts Fair Week and the hours would be wacky again. And we just thought better to get past the wacky schedule and get back, open up when we can do normal schedule. Now, what that means is that the public cannot go downstairs and there is no elevator. So only public who can manage the upstairs or want to just come in and pick up their stuff in person rather than using curbside or the lockers will be able to do that. And staff will be going upstairs to retrieve things for anyone who might not be able to actually do that on their own and navigate the stairs. So because that was one of my phone calls to a lot of the library council as well is, what's the legality of being open without the elevator and with the proper signage, just saying we're not, we'll get things for you, because we're fixing right now. Tri-State is working right now on getting parts, but they were concerned about availability of parts
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
and how long it would take. So
That's a
there
good
really
thing,
is
too.
no telling. We might be able to have the downstairs ready before the elevator is done, with the availability of parts and all.
It could literally be until the end of the year.
Mhm.
I hate to say it.
It's gonna take a
No, I-
long time. Yes.
Yeah.
COVID, that's one of the impacts of COVID that people
Yes.
don't realize, and especially with me being in the industry, I'll see it, supply chains
Or-
are almost decimated.
Right.
And getting things in, it's just insane.
Yep. So that's been so exciting.
Is that number 6 that we jumped to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, any other
No.
questions or comments on the Georgetown update?
No.
If not, we can move on to number 7, which is a request by Kelly Cole. Oh, sorry.
Actually, that's not, when you were saying 6, I thought you meant 6 on the list of announcements.
Oh, she's still
Oh, I
on
was going
announcements.
6
We're
on
on the
our
agenda.
update.
No, we're not quite there. 'cause
So-
That's a
so is that
whole,
different?
that's a whole different, yeah.
Oh, I am so
Oh,
sorry.
gosh.
Okay.
all
You're
right.
fine. I'm not going to belabor any of the things on the announcements, but there are a couple of things that I just really feel it's important to point out to you. Okay, so you might have noticed the cones. When you
Yes.
turned into, okay, well, I know people too. And I'm married to somebody who might have some connections with utility work. And we saw some activity going on here, but it looked like they were maybe doing cable or whatever else. And but a week later, I discovered it was a gas main that was being done. And I discovered this as they were digging up part of our driveway. And
Jeez.
nobody told us anything.
Oh, no.
Wow.
And they have blocked track, I mean,
Wow.
it was dangerous, very dangerous.
So who dropped the ball on that? I mean, that's a biggie.
Yeah.
It's very interesting how some companies work, and I cannot comment on what I know, but it was not us. And while we were told that the village had been informed that there was work going on. My understanding is that the process is that every individual household or building where work is being performed has to be notified. We didn't even get a door hanger or anything. So I made sure that people knew that they needed to let us know. And I got the phone number of the gas inspector who I can call if we have more troubles out here, but they're not done. It's going to be another month because, well, they've added some pipes and whatever. Duke has to come back and connect the pipes, and then the contractors have to come back in and repair. And they had equipment on our driveway, big equipment, and so they're going to do more than just fix the apron.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Okay.
That's terrible.
If I have anything to say about it, they're going to, and I'm going to talk.
That's
I'm not
why
happy
they
with that.
have insurance.
That's right,
That's why they have insurance.
right,
for
because their
mistakes like
their
that.
contractors came and were, big old dump trucks and excavators and things, right, in our driveway. And it's like, no. You've got other places to be. I don't think so. But but
Could anybody get in to use the library?
it was hard because they had half of our driveway was dug up. So there
Yeah.
was one tiny.
Yeah, there, where that plate is
Yeah.
like covering most of it.
And don't think about turning left. You couldn't turn
Yeah, you
left.
couldn't turn
Yeah.
it. They were
People
supposed
see.
to provide traffic direction. And
Right.
that.
Yeah, when I came back from Georgetown this afternoon, they had police out there, but it wasn't
It wasn't
here.
here. It was
But
something.
they actually were directing traffic.
We didn't have
They had the final
But this was
work.
all happening about the same time that.
Curse.
Oh,
and the
like,
lights.
busted and, so.
Even
And
Christmas.
then Monday, we had no internet. There's no internet. No, Georgetown's got internet. The only building that's closed has got internet.
Yeah.
Nobody else does. And so I'm getting these updates from Spectrum. And finally, the word says, we discovered they're assessing and they discovered squirrel chew. Is what
That's what that was the term they used?
SQUIRL, chew. Yeah,
It's a
Squirrel?
it's a real thing.
squirrel chew.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm thinking, do they make those acorn flavored or what? I don't know.
Squirrel chew. They didn't even spell it right.
It has been exciting here lately, let me just say.
Jeez.
I won't belabor the funding opportunities. We already talked about those. We should be hearing very soon about the last grant, that outreach grant, the ARPA grant. Stat Courier, again, they're working at the state level. We did make a trip. We'll be reimbursed for our time and mileage. It will get credited to that contract that we pay for. So that's great. Start. I think that's pretty much it. Number 8, the Records Commission does have to meet because we are required to meet once per year. So I may or may not have any records actually for disposal, but it will have to be on, part of the 2 minutes that we spend on that kind of thing. So now we can move on to other stuff.
So following that, next on our list would be committee reports, but that says Personnel Committee September 8th meeting was postponed.
We actually had it just before we met here, so we'll get updated minutes and kind of.
Later on.
Yeah. And
Okay.
unless you want to
I was
summarize.
just gonna say, actually, we talked about benefits, we talked about wages, and we need more information.
That's.
That's
Yeah,
it.
So we're meeting again.
Oh, and the
next
remote
month.
work policy.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, there was
We'll have for
remote
next.
work policy will be in the next
Yeah.
board packet.
Okay. Thank you, Barb. All right, then moving on from there, this is a different update on the
Yes.
Georgetown facility project.
Yes. So the water damage is its own piece, but it it does play into the fact that we already had been talking about doing some renovations, planning for them, doing a community survey and all of that kind of thing. So so that you'll know that outside of the water issue, I did talk with the Cook trustee, well, the head of the trustees on Friday afternoon, and they want us to keep on moving with the facilities plan, do the community survey. They want an estimate of the entire project. Now, I think that part of the fact that we've got to kind of change our priorities, we want to start on that first level. But now we've got this immediate need downstairs. They would like to know, what do we think the whole thing is going to be? The hope would be that that means that they might be able to find some more money sooner, to help with some big part of it. So just so you know, we're gonna be doing that kind of in conjunction or simultaneously with trying to get the bottom level done. So, but we are going to specifically be following up with the outer envelope assessment and the environmental engineer services, so that we spend money, it's well protected. And library design is going to help us with that. I talked with Matt Bauman today, and I said, that meeting you're coming to on Tuesday to actually look at the bottom floor, can you just look at the whole thing? And we know it's not going to be exactly, what our final plans are going to be, but at least it will be this is going to be 500,000, or is it going to be 750,000? We'll have some better idea. So that's what that's about. But I'd like to try and keep those two projects kind of separate, because they really are different initiatives. Sorry about that.
Okay. Number 7, there's a request by Kelly Cole, Brown County Development Officer, to present fair housing information at the October board meeting.
She would like to have 15 minutes of the board's time. And that's why I said I need to make a specific request, because our typical, for any members of the public, is you get 5 minutes and that's it, but I said I would ask whether that's something, it could go longer if you all have questions about this, but it's entirely up to you. And I told her I would let her know what you all think.
So fair housing, that's insurance.
It's not insurance. It's more, I think it encompasses things like landlord, tenant, what responsibilities are on both sides. What's the right word? Discrimination, affordable.
I'm confused, but what would that have to do with us?
As a public body, we come into contact with a lot of people who may not know about this. One of the things that she mentioned to me was that there is money out there for people to do improvements.
Right.
You don't
Right.
have to necessarily be, at whatever 100% of the poverty level or those kinds of things, that they're really for middle income as well. And she is really trying to get the word out to more people about this, so that people understand it, what the fair housing really is and what it can do and how it can benefit. So
that's by meeting with us, she's getting one of the objectives of sharing this information.
Right.
And then Lynn can share the information with the people that work here, and if people have questions about it when they come into the library,
Right.
they'll be prepared to know
what to.
where to
And
route
then-
them.
And you all individually even
Yeah.
will know more about it, so you can,
Right, right.
guide people the right way.
My question would be, would it be better presented to us, or would it be better presented to next time you have a staff? Because they're more frontline. Not that I have a problem with
Right.
having her come to speak to us,
Right.
but
That's interesting.
I
Yeah,
I am not certain, but I believe that because of this being federal money as well, that it has to be open to the public. So we couldn't do it as staff. She could do it at a staff. Yeah, I mean, she can always, but I think for this kind of thing, that has to be open to the public. It has to be a public forum. I think is why she's there, because you're looking
Are
for
your staff
opportunity.
meetings public? That you invite?
Well, not if we have a staff training day.
That's, yeah.
No,
That's closed
right.
session. Yeah.
Those are closed,
Yeah.
so.
But you are a public body.
But we could do it
Emphasize
closed
to
body.
her. We're gonna really hold her to 15 minutes because we have a big agenda, because if we're
Yes,
gonna
we
do
have.
Lynn's.
Yes. we
Yeah.
have.
assessment
we have
that
lots.
night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's, but does it have to be October's meeting, or can we table
Ask
that
for
to November?
Ask her.
I would push for
That,
November.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, I can
And
do
it,
that.
you know, it
Would be
almost
good.
seems to me that if she wants to, if she's trying to get information to the public, why doesn't she talk to you about, like having one of being an event where they bring the public in, like,
And I think that I had said something about that to her, was that connecting it with an existing event, like, a book club or a whatever. would
Yeah.
Be the thing to do.
exactly.
Yeah, so I will let her know that November is really the best date.
Yeah.
The other things on the
Yeah.
agenda should
Okay.
be held strictly to 15 minutes. And that we've got some other suggestions for possible venues.
That sounds good.
All right.
Okay. Number 8, motion to approve the 2022 calendar, which is the non-orange.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve it. 2022 calendar
I'll second.
for the library.
I have a comment to make, when we're increasing, I don't know whether, are you increasing the total number of hours?
Yes.
I bet.
Because right now we are in 128 hours per week total. And then we would be moving to 160 hours because the goal has been, since we, did our continuing levy, that we would eventually put at least a couple of the buildings back to 6 days of service per week.
Well, I guess my comment then is, I'd like to see on the planning for this says sometime in 2022, maybe it doesn't happen.
I would say it depends upon workforce, COVID, a whole bunch of things, I think we need to get through flu season and see how conditions change. Mark's going, it's
Well,
never gonna
my
end.
point is, I guess, that I prefer to see all libraries open when you open 2 and don't open the other 2, then I think that's probably, well, I don't know what you call it, but anyway, well, for example, I saw in the Sardinia statistics that actually the number of checkouts was greater than Mary P. Sheldon. So I don't want us to be in a position that we're planning to decrease the checkouts. A self-fulfilling prophecy,
Deep,
Well, my point is that I prefer to see all libraries open. Maybe not the same hours, but at least everyone treated equally.
so all of them open 6 days per week.
Pardon?
All of them open 6 days per week, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. And, that had originally been the goal, but at this point, with having decreased the hours so much, and having very, still looking at it going, okay, guess what? We've got to do this building now, curbside only, because we're, we've got 3 staff quarantining because their kids were at school and were exposed to, this kind of things already happening. I think it's unrealistic to make the jump from going where we are right now to all open at 6 days per week, because that would require a significant staffing increase and training.
Well,
So that's
we-
why I'm
we
looking at
do
a
it.
little bit at a time.
You could do a token, at least, for example, on Sardinia, if you did a 9 to 1 on Friday, that would only add 4 hours to your week.
4 hours times how many staff times where, how many people to be scheduled. I mean, and so I'm not, I don't mean to shoot that down, but they actually already were going from 32 to 36 total hours per week. So we're increasing the number of hours, if not, but not the number of days.
Well, when we had our book club last week, you didn't get to come.
No, I was mowing the mess.
I had to leave, go get my grandson and bring him back up. And they gave him things to do, but really, maybe a couple people came in during those 2 hours. So it really gave the library staff an opportunity to get other work done. I like it open as much as possible, no matter what branch it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you split it so that every branch gets like a half day across? Instead of having them closed, 2 of them closed entirely?
I think that's something we need to have the managers do some mock schedules to see what does that mean in terms of the number of people we have.
Right.
And the number of hours they have.
Right.
And how does that fit into that? Because adding that extra day really puts a toll on, okay, well, now I've got to, am I going to have somebody who's going to have to work 6 days a week most of the time?
Right.
Or are there times where we could, arrange that and have the kind of staff skills we need when we're open? So that's why I think, we've already done the projections for the 2022. We've already had the managers look at mock schedules to see what have we got, what are we going to need, how can we do this? Adding that additional day in those other buildings would change that significantly, especially right now where we're down a little bit of staffing. So,
Staffing isn't easy to find.
that's why sometime in 2022, that would be my goal, is that, before summer reading program, we could do this, but I don't know how conditions are going to change, both the workforce conditions and COVID conditions.
This is well, only approve the calendar to include the top half. And then we can always, come back and address the other when we get closer to 20, because you're right, there's so many
Factor.
unknowns.
Yeah. I don't
Yes,
know.
indeed.
You literally cannot plan anything,
Right.
literally.
Which
But
is-
this
And
is
have a
this is
goal, and have a,
Yeah.
well, and have a
It's
goal
a wish
to reach
list
what,
and goal.
have a goal to reach what Harold's
I
thinking
can't-
about. We're open.
So I
Yeah.
can't
To
speak for the
set
other
the calendar,
branches.
we'll set the calendar to, at basically where it's at now.
Mhm.
And then we can revisit it when we feel more comfortable with where the world is.
And then we can look again at that second model that I have.
Or were you wanting us to approve this as it's just a goal? So it's not set in stone, subject to change, just a goal?
I think that would be good, yeah.
It's entirely up to you if you'd rather us go back and look at some other options to consider, then I'd say taking it out is fine, taking that option out is fine. I will say that we've actually talked about it a lot. We've done, like I said, the mock scheduling. We looked at the fact that we actually are opening an hour earlier, on those later days. And we're staying open till 5 instead of till 4. So we looked at here, how can we do this with the staff we've got? Plus we know we're going to have to, in the 2 buildings that we would open the other day, we would have to get another person in each of those places to be able to handle that. But knowing, with what we've got now and being able to go, okay, well, we don't have staff clumped on top of each other. We're, doing all the things that we need to do safely, and yet still giving, what we think is appropriate service. That's why we came up with that. So it's more than just a wish
Well,
list.
I
This is
guess
a target.
I'm looking at it from the community side, and everybody pays the local tax.
It's true.
Well,
So,
I guess then I can pop up with Fayetteville pays the highest taxes in Brown County. You know that,
Well-
Harold. You have property,
the one mill is the same.
but we pay the highest property taxes in Brown County. Ask Joe Hall.
Yeah.
And anytime, I can't speak for any other branch, but anytime I go in Fayetteville, every one of those people that work in there seem delighted to help anybody. And my grandson is disabled and not real bad, but 16 years old and probably operates at a 5-year-old, maybe at that. And they go out of their way to help. I don't know if they do that at all branches.
That's super.
But I think those guys or ladies
Both, yeah.
would be thrilled to have the extra hours.
Yeah.
So I would suggest maybe that we just approve, because Lynn put a lot of time in, and Lynn brought up a good point. They talked about it quite a bit. They did some mock. So I think a lot of effort was put into this.
Yes.
And I think we need to acknowledge that instead of
Yes.
just missing it. The only thing I would recommend is, if we have a motion to approve, but it's going to be subject to change
Right.
due to the current county environment, the
Right.
current
COVID.
country environment, COVID.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think about that?
Oh, yeah. And
You know,
Lynn, does, when you have the staff development, how do they feel about it?
Maybe Tanya or Amber could speak directly to what they've talked with their staff about this, this kind of a setup. I don't know.
I mean, I would go with how they feel.
Sure.
Yeah.
So as far as adding another day, correct?
As
And
far as that,
if they feel their staff,
Fayetteville and Sardinia.
so
basically.
how did the staff feel about the proposed new hours at some point when we can actually add additional hours and days in?
My staff was fine with it as long as we hire adequate help to cover those extra hours. Because I know my staff, they don't want to be stuck working 6 days a week, every day, all day long. That's tiring. And we have to have adequate staffing. So where are we going to put those hours? Either new hires or adding additional hours to my existing staff.
yeah.
As far as
And Amber also has, go ahead, Amber.
as far as Fayetteville and Sardinia go, I think it is important that, maybe we make a decision about this a little further down the road. Maybe at this point, I'm managing both of those buildings and we only have one manager. We might want to see, is that something that's working better for both the buildings and the library itself with staffing and costs and management and interests, in addition to, what would be better being open an extra day for the community. As far as extra staffing hours, currently the Fayetteville Library and thank you, Kathleen, for such the sweet sentiments. I'll pass that along. But currently the Fayetteville Library is very maxed out on staff. I only have like 4 regular employees right now that are working in the building, a temporary seasonal employee, and then somebody working from home besides myself. So we are already working a ton of extra hours. But I will say that I do agree with Lynn. Looking across the board, I think that we'll need to see like what's available in the workforce and what's working for us, because we put out an attempt to hire a few different positions and didn't come up with anything. So Sardinia, I feel like they are probably in the same boat. Many of them have been given opportunities to work extra hours and they don't feel like they need to work them at this point. So I think we would probably end up having to possibly hire somebody at both of those branches in order to accommodate an extra day. So it's not out of the question. And I definitely understand Harold's points about serving the community. I get that. So I think the staffing is really a huge situation there.
That's very helpful.
Yeah,
Thank you, girls.
So my opinion is that we don't have any set dates for any of this anyway. If we approve it, it just gives them a stepping stone to it start increasing. And in 2023, we might be able to open that day, but we have to let it happen gradually, because we have to get the staff and we have to get them trained, and we are having staffing problems. So I think it has to be a gradual process. So my opinion is we approve this because we don't have a date that we have to do it, and allow them to adjust to the things as they come along and do this on a date that it's going to be good for us to do it.
Well, you're saying that the middle part here would be debatable as to when it might be considered, or the middle part,
This part,
the part that says sometime in 20.
yes, that's not going to happen until they're ready to do it, until they can have the staff and stuff to do it. Because they already said they're going to have to hire staff. And right now, there's no staff to do it. So sometime in 22, if things get loosened up a little bit more and we can hire extra staff, get them trained, then we can hire more and maybe open those up for the next phase of it.
It might.
Because I think the goal should be to be able to have them open all the time, but I don't think we just jump into that.
Yeah, we can't at this point, and it does take time. I mean, we might be able to go, okay. the
Because
job market
it's
is
incredible.
changing,
It's like,
you know,
it's like some
and-
alien came and lifted all these people out of the workforce because
Thank you.
everybody-
Bizarre.
Yeah.
We're in Jerry Seinfeld's bizarre
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it doesn't matter what industry you're talking about. There just aren't people out there that are working.
I know. Yeah, and I didn't mean to make your job more difficult
Yeah.
or any managers, it's just, it's crazy.
It is, it's a target. It's not one that we just threw out there.
Yeah.
I wanted you to be aware of that we
Yeah.
really looked at that and said, this is
This-
reasonable. from
This
our
is an
standpoint.
example. I had a doctor's appointment yesterday. And I got out and went right down the road because I couldn't eat before I went to the doctor. So I wanted to get a breakfast sandwich. Exactly 10:30. We're not serving breakfast anymore.
Yeah.
Because they don't have people.
They didn't have the people
Yeah.
to do it.
Terrible,
Is
terrible, terrible.
pathetic.
Mhm.
It's just, and isn't that crazy? Because really, they're only doing.
Yeah, no, that's just.
Yeah, everyone's ordering
incredible.
DoorDash
In Marketplace.
because they don't want to go out. And
Oh,
so
okay.
everyone's
Understood.
door dashing. That's why they're not flying
And
through.
where was the $500 signing bonuses when we were kids?
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm considering going to cook at Butterbees.
And I'll let you live through another couple of months.
right.
Right.
So, I mean,
So
again, it's entirely up to you, but, I will say that when we were looking at calendars last year at this time, we kind of had the same process. We
Yeah.
put something that we wanted to work towards, we had planned for it. It doesn't mean that, yeah, we're going to do it even as listed. We may very well
Mhm.
go, okay, this is what we can do now and just expand the hours, but not add any extra days in right away.
Mhm.
All of it takes enough time
Yeah,
that the board will have plenty of time to consider changes before we could possibly
exactly.
implement.
Right.
So we need a motion then.
I think
Right.
we already had a motion.
I made one,
We
but
have one, but now we have to
What was the
finish it.
we just have to vote. 'cause
I
I'm
had,
just saying
I
we
had
should
Karen
approve
and then I had Tracy as a second.
Okay.
And I
that's
haven't went through
fine.
the list yet. I
Nope.
changed the wording to what Mark suggested, subject to change based on county environment.
Okay, I think
Um,
that's
Mark.
appropriate. Yeah.
Yes.
Sue,
Yes,
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes. And you want to hear another crazy story before we go on? I'll only take a moment of your time.
That first one was crazy, so.
This one is-
At the top.
This one is really crazy. My husband passed away in October. And we had a checking account at Fairfax Credit Union. And the only money that went in there was his social security. So all the years I spent in education here, I didn't get the social security because my SRS, I get 92%. You probably get 100% because you put in a couple more years than me. Anyway, I had to close that account. And they wanted me to open a new account because I had automatic payments coming out of that. I said, I'm not going through that. I have a bank account out here at Superior, here in Mount Orb. When they opened it up to teachers in Mount Orb, I went with that. I put money in both banks. Back then you could do that. You had a treasurer here at Mount Orb that knew how to do that. So anyway, I started doing the automatic payments out of it. Living in Fayetteville, right across from TDS, I bundled with Dish for 30 years. So then in June, I started looking through my bank account out here, and I was seeing every month 2 automatic deductions to TDS. My regular bill, and then another one for $80. So I called them. They couldn't find anything. I went out here to my bank and she said, I can get in through the back door. And what it was I was paying my bill and another woman's Dish account.
Oh,
Nice of you.
$5 a month from February till the end of June.
Wow.
So we're still in the process of trying to make them refund the money.
Oh, my
and is that
goodness.
why you got a Christmas card from her every year?
I don't know this person.
I mean, is that the craziest thing?
Yes.
And we found out it was Dish. It wasn't TDS. Somebody that through Dish was able to log in to my account and get their Dish for free.
Wow,
Oh,
okay.
So
That is crazy.
yes.
All right, number
so
9.
much fun to get old, you know?
Oh, it's great. Fantastic.
Number 9, motion to approve law library contracts effective 1/1/2022 to 12/31/2022. A, with the Brown County Law Library Resource Board for provisions of law library services in the annual amount of $21,440. And B, with the Brown County Commissioners for lease of space for the law library in the annual amount of $6,120.
I'll second.
And it is all the same amounts, there's last year, same everything.
Mark,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes,
Tracy,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Kathleen.
Yes.
I need a motion to enter executive session. Consider the employment of public employees.
I'll second.
Mark,
Yes.
Harold,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes,
Sue,
yes.
Harold, Kathleen.
Yes.
So is there anything else that you want from
Tracy, sorry.
managers before
Yes.
they sign off?
No, thank you, managers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for
Appreciate
being with us.
here.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all.